1.
There, this is a little short video to help you guys work out two-step equations. This goes with section 2.2 in the textbook. So you're going to follow along with me, jot down some notes if I'm going a little too quick for you. One of the great things about the video is you can just press pause and get caught up on that, or you can go back, things like that. So here we go, two-step equations. When we're solving two-step equations, so anytime that we're working with equations with two or even more steps, we're going to follow the order of operations, but we're going to go backwards. We're going to do that in reverse. So what you're going to see is where I've got PEMDAS down here, so parentheses, exponents, then we're going to multiply and divide in the order that they appear from left to right, and then add and subtract in the order that they appear from left to right. That's what we did in chapter 1, back when we were simplifying expressions. So that's really the normal order of operations that we follow. Now, when we're solving the equations, we're actually undoing operations to try and get the variable by itself. Now, since we are undoing them, we're actually going to perform those operations then in reverse. Now, what that means is that anytime that you have, when you see addition and subtraction in the equation, you're going to undo that piece first. When you see multiplication and division, you will undo that piece next. We are not going to be solving any with where you have to undo exponents, but if we did have that, you would do that after you remove the multiplication and division. And then lastly, you're going to undo anything that was housed inside a set of parentheses, okay? And that's going to become important because you're going to see some problems that work that way. All right, next slide. Here we go. Let's do an example problem together. So I've got a couple of questions here that are going to pop up on the screen, and we are going to try to follow the order of that questioning, and then hopefully you can remember that when you're doing some of these on your own, and that'll help guide you through. So the first one, we're going to show this thing where we're going backwards through our order of operations. So we're going to be going in this direction, okay? Now, what operations do we have contained in the equation? So in order to see that, we are going to look at this, the 2 and the x written together. Whenever you don't see an operator symbol in between there, that means multiply. So when you see a number and a letter written right next to each other, we're multiplying them. And then, of course, we've got a plus sign here, which means that we are going to add that 3. So we've got 2 times x, and we've got a plus 3. Addition and multiplication. So as I work backwards through order of operations, the first thing I come across is addition and subtraction. That means any addition or subtraction that I see, I need to get rid of that first. Well, I have some addition right here. So the way I'm going to get rid of that is to subtract 3 from both sides. I end up with a 2x is equal to 15 minus 3 is 12. Now I'm down to a single step equation where I just have 2 times x. And so I've got multiplication here. That puts me right over here at the m and the d in my order of operations. So I need to undo that multiplication, and I'm going to do that by dividing away that 2. Now I don't divide away a 2x. The x is going to stay on top, and it's going to stay there by itself. We want that to be there. We don't want to get rid of it. So, but the 2's we do want to get rid of, so that's why we're dividing away the 2. So this becomes x is equal to 12 divided by 2 is 6. I forgot my other question. So which one of those should we undo first? We kind of talked through that as we were doing the problem, and it was the addition that we undid first. Okay, so now this brings us to one of the got it problems. I left everything over there to the right, so you can see the reverse order of operations. You can see the question that's on the screen, what operations are contained in the equation. Which one of those should we undo first since we're solving an equation? So what I would recommend is that you pause this video at this point and you try to work out this problem, and then you turn the video back on. When you turn the video back on, I will go ahead and work through the process of going through this with you. I'll go kind of quickly, but you'll be able to pause and write things down as you need to. So, but first, pause it and see if you can work it out on your own. Right, so hopefully you had a chance to try and work this out on your own. If we were to answer these questions, first off, what operations are contained in the equation? Well, t over 2, remember this bar simply means divided by. It means a division sign. And then, of course, my minus 3 is subtraction. So I have division and subtraction. If I'm going backwards through order of operations, what do I undo first? Any addition or subtraction. So I need to undo this minus 3. How do I undo a minus 3? I'm going to add it. Add 3 to both sides. So there's a plus 3. Sorry, my pen's giving me a hard time. And here's a plus 3. So my 5 plus 3 gives me 8. And that is equal to just a t divided by 2. And my minus 3 and my plus 3 from up here are going to zero each other out, so that part goes away. Now, the only thing I have left is my variable is being divided by 2. How do I undo divided by 2? I multiply by 2 on both sides. So I end up with my 2's canceling, and I have a t over here on the right side of the equal sign, and a 2 times 8 is 16. So that leaves me with t equals 16, and hopefully that is what you got when you solved this first got it problem. By the way, if there's anybody out there watching this right now that doesn't like the idea that the variable is on the right side, you could rewrite this equation as t over 2 minus 3 is equal to 5. It doesn't make any difference if you flip-flop those sides of the equal sign, as long as the t over 2 minus 3 stays exactly the same, and you take the whole thing and you shift it over to the other side of the equal sign. Obviously, both sides have to be shifted completely to the other side of the equal sign, so you don't want to break up in either of those expressions. Okay, moving on. I have got another example problem. So in this one, this is a little bit different. When you have a division or a fraction bar that's acting as a grouping symbol, so what I mean by that is this fraction bar actually means divide. But the thing is it's separating the whole entire x minus 7, this expression x minus 7, from the 3. So it's dividing that whole expression by 3. So whenever you have that happening, that means this division bar is sort of grouping together the x and the 7 and the negative 7. So what we're going to do is place a set of parentheses around those terms that it's grouping together. So we're going to take x minus 7 and put that in parentheses. So now that that thing is in parentheses, then we're going to go through following our steps. So we're going to do, again, reverse order of operations. So if you remember that prior questioning, now we can walk through that questioning again. There's our reverse order. What operations are contained in the equation? We know that we have some division, and I do have subtraction in here, but the subtraction is inside a set of parentheses. So that part is now going to be contained over here. So even though there is subtraction, which you might think is here, it's now in that set of parentheses because my division bar was grouping this together naturally. So we just put the parentheses around it to show that. So now the addition and subtraction is not the first thing I will do because it's in parentheses. I have to scoot on past that. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply to get rid of the division. So give me a second here and let me get rid of these symbols because I need that spot. Okay. Sorry about the delay there. Okay, so the way that we undo divided by 3 is we multiply by 3. We have to do that on both sides of the equal sign. Which do to one side, you have to do to the other. 3's canceled. I'm going to be left with my x minus 7. And yes, it was in parentheses, but at this point, because I've gotten rid of everything else, those parentheses no longer have to be there. It doesn't have to hold the x minus 7 together and protect it anymore because we've already gotten rid of everything else. So x minus 7 is all that's left. So those parentheses can go away. So we have negative 12 times 3. Negative times positive is negative. 12 times 3 is 36. Now I just have my x being subtracted, 7 being subtracted from x, pardon me. So how do I undo a minus 7? I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And that was the part that was in the parentheses, so that's why it's okay to do that last. In fact, that's what we're supposed to do. So we end up with x equals, now in this one, this trips some of you guys up, so be careful here. I have 36 negatives and 7 positives. What do I have more of, positives or negatives? The answer to that question is negatives. How many more? That question signifies subtraction. So you're actually going to take 36 minus 7, and you get an answer of 29. So this answer is negative 29.